Hi, I'm Professor Beck Strah.
And I'm Professor Eric Bronson, and you're listening to Prison Breakdown.
2, 3, break!
Hate to spoil his fun, but we're gonna bust out of here.
2, 3, break!
I'm locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
2, 3, break!
I can honestly say I'm a changed man. No danger to society here. God's honest truth.
2, 3, break!
I'm not leaving this cell. I'll get out my way. The right way.
2, 3, break!
Ahoy, dudes, and welcome back to another episode of Prison Breakdown. I am your co-host, Professor Beck Strah, former corrections officer, programs instructor in prisons, and guy who just likes research in prison.
So subdued today.
I know. It's a day to be subdued.
It is a day. It's a day. Well, the important thing is not the weather doing that to you. Yeah, got into the weather.
Speaking of which, our weather outside it's gorgeous. It's like 70 something degrees. It's a nice fall day
in November. You kidding me?
November, yeah. Well, yesterday it was almost amazing. 80 degrees here.
I took my students outside yesterday. We had class outside in November in Rhode Island, right there by the water.
My parents in Alaska texted me last week to let me know that they were getting like 10 to 12 inches of snow. It's
what?
Here. I haven't even seen a frost. What's going on?
No, it's absolutely gorgeous. But I'm sure I'm sure there are pockets of society that'll say, "Oh, that's just normal and that's what God wants." But it's a little bit extreme with
That's what the Democrats want. Control.
Yeah, that's right. When they control the weather, look out for that hurricane coming. Because before things switch in January, they're going to be throwing some more hurricanes at us.
Yeah, that weather controller of theirs, that's about to get handed over, I suppose.
Yeah, the lame duck session is going to be nothing but hurricanes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Why not? I mean, hurricanes for the South, for the Midwest. I think what we need to do is to show them the power of the Democrat hurricane machine is put a hurricane right in Kansas or Nebraska, Iowa. Yeah, show them what that. By the way, where is the hurricane machine or the weather machine housed? Is it in the Pentagon?
Well, being that there is no such thing as a hurricane machine or weather control, I think we've taken this bit as far as it can go.
No, we talked about a hurricane machine on our very last episode. It's the machine that makes the drinks called the Hurricane in in New Orleans,
There we go.
And I like to imagine
it's like a slushy machine.
I like to imagine that Joe Biden just has one of those in his office, which is why he's always like, hey, Jack. He's just drunk.
Yeah, now it's a slushy machine.
With Trump's reelection, will he bring back this rumored Diet Coke button that he had on the desk?
I am sure he will. Anything, he can someone at his beck and call can bring him what he wants. What does he get? A large fry, a large Diet Coke, and a large Big Mac or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. The rumor was it was a button he pushed and somebody brought him a Diet Coke every time he pushed.
Yeah,
it.
just like the big red button, like the Staples. That was easy button, but for Diet Coke. Which I gotta say, it's I am not a fan of the man, but that is one thing I do respect about him is having a Diet Coke button. Because if I was president of the United States, my first order of business would be a Diet Coke button.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Are you all ready for a little news hot off the razor wire?
Bring it.
Fresh news, hot off the razor wire.
All right. This is actually going back to my old home, and I know the sheriff that this is dealing with. But a couple weeks ago, Jefferson County deputies confiscate drone used to bring contraband into the United States. It says penitentiary But where they were taking it is into the jail down there. So this is in Beaumont, Texas, and Jefferson County deputies have confiscated a drone that the sheriff's office says was used to bring contraband into the U.S. penitentiary in Beaumont. Some of the contraband that deputies confiscated along with the drone include cell phones, drug paraphernalia, tobacco, GPS trackers, credit cards, a shank, watches, Narcan. There's talk about being responsible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Good job, guys.
I mean, hey, they're looking out for each other there. Spray paint and various electronics. 2 people were arrested in a car outside the jail, and a car was towed. So they, in the article, they're saying U.S. penitentiary, and then they're saying jail. So based on who did this, I'm guessing this is the Jefferson County Jail, because Sheriff Zena Stevens, who I voted for on multiple occasions while living there, says incidents like these happen more often than you think. We have ranchers who call us many times in the county because they see the drones flying over and they see the drop-offs. Patrol Deputy Adam Lovett with Jefferson County Sheriff's Office told 12 News that he pulled a man and woman over for speeding on Hillbrant Road and began questioning while they were speeding. Both gave conflicting responses, prompting a search of the vehicle, which the driver refused. He said they were down here for work. Then I went and spoke with the female in the passenger seat. She told me they were down here visiting some friends. So right there, they have conflicting stories. They called out the canine unit, was alerted to something during the search. That's when they found contraband and arrested a couple for drug possession.
So stupid. This is so avoidable, you guys.
Yeah, this is good stuff. But it is interesting when you think about there are jurisdictions throughout the country that use technology to kind of scramble the signal of drones if they go over top of institutions, and it just causes them to just drop out of the air once they get close. I guess down there in Jefferson County, Texas, they haven't started using that yet. But that's use ingenuity for individuals trying to get contraband into an institution. I remember hearing years and years ago while I was working or going to school in Kentucky about someone outside of a prison in Tennessee who used, and this is just so cliche, they used a slingshot to slingshot contraband over the fences into the institution. So obviously the times have evolved and we're now using drones, which makes perfect sense.
That technology that can make them fall out of the sky. That's fascinating to me.
I guess it just, and it works for the cheaper, it works for the cheaper drones. I'm sure if you have something that's really, a sophisticated piece of equipment that's like a $10,000 or $20,000 drone. I don't think it's touching that specifically because they can just fly so damn high. Whereas, the little $200 drone that I have can only go so high, and I'm sure whatever technology they're using to defeat the drones and scramble signals is just going to knock it right out of the sky, make it fall. Yeah.
Or you could drop it like you could bring it way up high and drop it. Hope it
absolutely
hits the right place.
Yeah. It also reminds me of I loved reading some of the like Pete Early describes in the Hot House an inmate whose mom used a semi truck to break into a prison, drove through the walls or the fences to get her kid out. But then others who used a helicopter, that's just so Hollywood, where you come in with a helicopter and try to get inmates to jump on the helicopter and then try and sneak them out. It's that's good stuff. Really good stuff.
It's like the scene in Tall Tale, The Legend of Pecos Bill, where Babe the Blue Ox is hooked up to the jail that Pecos Bill and John Henry and Paul Bunyan are locked up in, and it takes the wall off of the whole jail. It's like that. We've seen that so many times with cars and movies. It felt like, oh, this has been done. When I saw that.
So that's the news for today.
Wait, Eric, shut up. There's more news.
Oh, geez. Wow, so violent. I thought you were being somber, and then you get all aggressive. My goodness.
No, because there's a story I have to tell. I sent you this the other day, and it's fascinating to me. So, the Cobb County Sheriff's Office in Georgia has announced it's launching a 90-day pilot program to improve security at an adult detention center that they have there in the county. And so they are employing 3 Deca Sentry robots to make rounds around the 10-acre property and certain select dormitories for inmates. They're using robots for security, man.
Robots.
Yes. And the quote is, the robots were created to enhance security and eliminate the risks associated with human intervention in dangerous situations. Autonomous systems and robots are transforming every industry, and security is no exception, said the founder of DECA. It doesn't say like what kind of force that they can actually use, or if any, but the robots do have 360-degree cameras, night vision, lights, and heat detection. I don't want to work alongside a robot. I found this online on some Reddit post. Somebody was comparing it to the movie Chopping Mall, where robots go berserk and start killing people at a mall. Interestingly, there's no chopping in the movie.
Right.
Producer Brit, can you elaborate?
Yeah, it's just a robot with a laser going around a mall killing people. It's
nice.
I mean, it would be disappointing if it didn't rule so hard. So,
it's such a horrible idea. I mean, come on.
We don't want robots.
No,
put them away.
No. Well, and here's how long are they going to last? Because inmates are going to find a way to fuck with these things.
Yeah, and people are going to start with the robots are coming for our jobs, which I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to automate corrections in that way in some places. And we don't need to do that.
No.
Robots cannot do the same things that people can do.
Absolutely not.
I feel like corrections unions might be too strong to let that happen.
Yeah.
I would actually say I hope so in this case, because at least human intervention has discretion, whereas robots do not.
Right. And what's a robot going to do if a fight breaks out? What? I don't know.
If they're essentially another form of camera system and more surveillance, I can understand that. I hope that they're not actually there. The article from USA Today doesn't go into anything more that they can do.
Right.
No, I hope that like they're just like ultra violent, like the machine in Chopping Mall. I hope that it's like, hey, Mr. Robot Man, can I go to commissary?
Riot detected. Kill.
Zap ashes. All right. Wow. Now, Eric, I will let you put the cap on the news.
No, you do it since you kept it open so violently. My goodness.
I will take a bow. This is the end of the news. And on to the main event. Well, chaps, today we are talking about a fun place, El Salvador. And in El Salvador, we have a new maximum security prison to talk about, and it is all the rage. There are many online videos where they're like inviting YouTube personalities to come and tour this place. You two have heard of the Terrorism Confinement Center, also known as the Center for the Confinement of Terrorism, or CECOT, CECOT.
Yes, sir.
It is a new maximum security prison. It was built in the year 2022, opened in January of 2023, and is a prison complex built on a parcel of 410 acres in this rural area of El Salvador. It's like an hour from the capital, San Salvador. The facility itself is gigantic. It covers 57 acres and roughly 540,000 square feet. It is the largest prison complex in the Americas. There's a capacity there for 40,000 inmates. It's twice the size of Madison Square Garden, and the facility is currently holding around 14,500 people.
Well, and I don't, because you and I have been bragging about how we've been to the world's largest prison. land-wise, and that's about it. I mean, if you think about when we went to Angola, 18,000 acres, that's massive, but 4,000 inmates. This thing is, it's got a pretty significantly large land mass to sit on, but they're not using all of it. And then what's massive is simply the number of people that it can hold. Not that they are holding yet, but what they can hold, and then how they're holding them there. That's what's the craziest thing, or craziest aspect about this place. It's just, this is out of control.
It's like one of the most inhumane forms of confinement I've seen so far, and it is shocking to the conscience.
Yes.
Even though I thought Angola was shocking to the conscience, this place hit a new low. There's like nothing to do there in the facility, as we'll talk about in a bit.
Right.
But the facility was built after it's a reactionary build. There's this major event in March 2022 where in El Salvador, there's 87 gang murders that took place over a weekend. And the government says, not on our watch. And the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, he calls for a state of exception. And the idea of the state of exception, it's suspending constitutional rights and laws in service of what his administration called the public good. And he calls this Plan Bukele, which, sure, put your name on it. It was initially supposed to be this 30-day suspension of the Constitution, and now it's been like 32 times and counting.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Where have I heard that rhetoric before?
Yeah. Suspend the Constitution. It's for the greater good.
Right. It's for the greater good. Wow.
So what do you two think he did in the name of the public good?
He rounded some folks up, didn't he?
That's right. He started more heavily policing the gangs in the country, and he arrested about 74,000 people in a short amount of time. And
that's a large city. That's 72,000. That's a large city. I mean, it's not massive, obviously. It's not a major city, but 72,000. I mean, that's a 74. City with a Walmart.
yeah, right?
Yeah. It's a super center too. I mean, come on. That's big. It's busy.
Yeah, that's like half the size of Providence or something right there.
Right.
74,000 people. And so the legislative committee of El Salvador, they keep renewing the state of emergency that's used for these gang crackdowns. They're suspending constitutional rights. They're giving police more powers to arrest and hold persons who are suspected of committing crimes or gang activity. And the new model, it also waives this need for evidence. You don't even need evidence of wrongdoing. You don't even need to concretely be affiliated with a gang. You just have to be suspected of gang involvement for them to lock you up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when you can declare as a dictator that gangs are bad for the country and bad for the government, whatever, and society, then you can start arresting people who are, it's just thrown out. So now we're at the Salem witch trials. So the accusation is enough to get you punished.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bukele and his administration, when they start locking people up, they start to realize there's a space problem. Oh, oops, we've arrested a lot of people and we just don't have the space to incarcerate this overwhelming number of people. El Salvador's prisons are already crowded. So our solution, let's build a massive prison. The population of El Salvador as a whole, it's like 6.3 million people. And with the addition of the new prison, there's roughly 104,000 people incarcerated in El Salvador. So they're locking up something around 2% of the country. And that's wild. And even the vice president of El Salvador acknowledges that there's a margin of error here. Maybe everybody who's locked up is not necessarily guilty.
Right. Right. That's not a good look for the court systems.
No. And some people have been locked up simply for tattoos that they suspect are gang affiliated or following anonymous phone calls. If they wanted to, my neighbors, if I live there, they can anonymously report me of gang activity and I end up in prison. The police don't even have to inform people why they're being arrested anymore.
Well, I wonder what it would take for a tip, like what it would take to get somebody like saying that you're doing what with a gang? I mean, the accusation of drug use would probably be one of them, or gun trafficking. And we've seen a lot of guns going in and out of that house, I think, and these people they look like they're gang members. Is that enough to get somebody shipped off?
Yeah.
If you don't like someone?
Let's try it out. Let's try out a trial of what this might look like. Producer Brit, can you hit me with that phone call sound that it might sound like when I'm calling someone?
Like this sound right here?
Give me like a ring first. I don't have the cops.
I don't have a ring. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So I'll just have you say ring.
Ring.
We are such a second-rate show. No wonder we don't have a rating. Anybody can listen to us. Damn it. I thought we were working on getting banned for kids under 18. Holy shit.
The explicit sticker? No.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, Brit, give me that ring.
Ring.
The hell kind of phone is that?
It's a banana phone.
Oh, okay.
Hello, please. My co-host is this. He's like 6'4". He's a big dude, big man. He's scaring me. He's got some tattoos. I think you should go check out his house. That's me reporting you. That's what it takes. That's it.
That's fantastic. That is just to think that that's all it takes to get somebody to get locked up there in that place too. To know what the hell goes on there and to think that that's all that it takes. Again, it's the Salem witch trials.
I mean, to be fair though, that's not too different from America. I mean, you've heard about swatting, right?
Right.
Swatting.
Which is literally you just call and be like, hey, my neighbor, I think they're like holding themselves hostage in their house with a gun or something like that.
They're trafficking.
Yeah, they'll send an entire SWAT team out there, and I'd say a good third of the time they end up just killing the person who's completely innocent. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now, with every policy, we have to think of there's going to be some pros and some cons to every policy, and there's a lot of downsides to this type of policy and suspending the Constitution. And in a report by Manisha Gelman in Revista, the Harvard Review of Latin America, Gelman talks about how police and military personnel they now have the right to enter your home, and they have used their power to manipulate women into sex, and they threaten retaliation to the women and their relatives if they do not comply. And in here it's cited that some mothers, grandmothers, and girlfriends of former gang members are being arrested. And what does that do to their lives? You're complicit because you're a girlfriend or a wife?
Right. You're an extension. Right? Certainly you had to have done something. I don't know. Talk about living in a police state.
Right. So they end up doing time for someone else's crime, and then it's harder for them to get a job once they get out because they've got this criminal record. And under the state of exemption, their employers can even be arrested for hiring them if the women are suspected of involvement in gang activity. So it can go up the chain to your employer. That is so wild.
Yeah.
And so among these women, it's leading to an uptick. We're seeing an uptick in sex work due to lack of alternatives. And some have reported like there's a satisfaction with the new state of relative calm in their neighborhoods. They can walk around freely without gang harassment, surveillance, being taxed for crossing the street or fearing violence. But they're trading this fear of violence for now violence at the hands of soldiers and with cops, since military and police presence are increased in their neighborhoods, and they can't say anything. They can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Who do you go to? Who do you turn to in that situation? I just noticed I got a side text from producer Brit that he said he's getting ready to move to El Salvador with the increased options for sex workers. So, get a new job.
Papa's got a brand new bag. So, as a bit of background on the gang situation, so there's two major gangs in El Salvador. that characterize the gang situation there. And the individuals involved in these two gangs account for most of the nation's violent crime. The first gang, I'm sure most people have heard of. It's called MS-13. Stands for Mara Salvatrucha. This is the primary gang the authorities are going after. And we also have their rival threat group, which is the 18th Street Gang. They also get called Barrio 18. And there's a point in the history where the government said, we need to stop the violence and lower our homicide rates. And it was especially problematic with this rivalry between MS-13 and Barrio 18, which is causing a lot of violence. And in 2012, the national government of El Salvador gave $25 million to MS-13 to keep the peace. It was a controversial measure, and it was one that worked briefly. And then it fell apart. And some of the members have been vocal about this. They said the leadership got all this money from the El Salvadorian government, and they kept the money for themselves. It did not trickle down to the gang members. It just got kept in the hands of the leadership. The country actually went from having one of the highest homicide rates in the world. In 2015, 107 people per 100,000 were murdered. This was lowered to 21.2 people per 100,000 in 2020. And currently, it's around 2.4 people per 100,000 are murdered in El Salvador. So we are seeing a massive decrease in murder numbers.
Which, hey, that's a good sign, right? We like that. We like to see the decrease in murder.
Right. But, so as I was saying, like with any policy, there's going to be some byproducts, and it's interesting. I mean, it's you are increasing safety in the country, but at what cost? You're selling your soul in order to make this happen.
Right.
Now let's talk about the Terrorism Confinement Center itself. Bail is not really a liberty that's allowed. If you have gang affiliations, you're being held in custody indefinitely until conviction. And guess what, Eric? They can hold you for up to 2 years without charging you.
So you can end up there at this place for 2 years before any charges are brought. And then once you're charged, what happens then? I mean, how long do you have to wait, or how long can they force you to wait before the actual trial takes place? I mean, I don't know. I don't actually have that information. But yeah, consider that. You could be held for years just to be found not guilty. Yeah. Right. I mean, we do similar crap to that in the United States, but not to that extreme normally, not that long time period. Normally you're charged pretty quickly and then you're held, right? And then things, in terms of being charged to when you actually either plea bargain or face trial, that can take a long time, especially if the DA is an ass and really wants to stretch things out, delay things, and keep bringing new pieces of information into the proceedings. But this is something that, man, being held 2 years without knowing what you're charged with, and who knows how long it actually really is. In these types of governments, you just it can be extended longer. Who's going to argue that? Yeah,
because it's also they've currently got like 14,500 people there. That's 14,500 cases you have to pursue.
Right.
And in terms of the legwork that they have to do in the district attorney's office or whatever the El Salvadorian equivalent would be, there's so much work to be done that I can't imagine they have the staff to do that. So you're getting all these gang members who are being held indefinitely, and the facility has not even been open for a full 2 years yet. So
right. What's the likelihood that any of those people have actually been convicted?
So I don't know the answer to that one either. But they've already transferred over 2,000 gang members from other facilities across El Salvador to this one central location in CECOT. And the system also allows for juveniles as young as 12 years old to be held and tried for gang membership. And because the Constitution is suspended and their laws and rights are also suspended, it's estimated that around 1,600 children have been arrested. So that's fun.
Who? My goodness.
Let's talk about some of the security measures, though. When you enter the prison, both inmates and non-inmates are subjected to screening with this full body scanner. Inmates get manually frisked by prison officers, and a metal detector is used to prevent contraband from entering the facility. And there are 7 security checkpoints required to enter. And these start as far as 3 kilometers out from the prison. So you're looking at like over a mile. And you have to pass through 7 different security checkpoints just to get in.
Wow. I mean, it's a full body. You said a full body scan?
Full body scan.
But only the inmates get the pat down.
Yes.
Oh, damn. I was going to go.
You just want the pat down. You want seconds.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's, you missed the spot, buddy.
Yeah. As a corrections officer, people used to say, oh, no seconds. All right, guys. Now, some of the security measures across the facility include video surveillance, and the facilities, they're comprised of 8 buildings that are made of reinforced concrete. So they're made out of a tough material, hard to get through. Each of the 8 buildings has 32 cells, and the cells are about 1,000 square feet each. And instead of individual cells, these 1,000 square foot cells each hold 80 to 100 inmates. These guys, the whole cell, it just looks like bunk beds with ladders that go up 4 tiers. So you have like a 4-story bunk bed. Each cell has 2 sinks and 2 toilets for 80 to 100 people. And otherwise, people will use buckets for showers and for bathing. The prisoners have 2 cement tubs that are filled with water, where pots are provided for them to dump it over themselves. And there's no privacy allowed.
It's just not a great situation. They're just packed in there like sardines. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's just you and 80 to 100 other people,
right,
sharing one big room.
It's just a big bullpen.
It's a big bullpen. There's no clocks visible, so time has hit a standstill for you if you're in there.
Yeah.
And above each cell block, we have 19 guard towers and catwalks that are above the different cell blocks. And all the officers are hooded, carrying rifles. They don't want the inmates to know who the officers are.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
So I mean, that's similar. Like, I know a lot of places they tell the staff to never let the inmates know your first name, just last name, everything, and that's it. So that's interesting. They're hooded, so they can't even be identified.
Yeah, for us, it was only last name. None of the inmates ever knew my first name when I was a corrections officer. As a programs instructor, I typically told them my name. But as a corrections officer, no, it's just last name. I'm just Strah.
Yeah.
Is that how you have previously addressed inmates?
I was always just Bronson.
Yours still
inmates,
just always Bronson.
Yeah, always Bronson. That my whole life. But the inmates, all the inmates were last names, so I'm sure that was part of it. Is being at a respect factor is Mr. So and so, and so it was always just everybody was by their last name.
So, in terms of other security measures, we have walls surrounding the facilities that are nearly 10 feet tall and 2 feet thick. They are topped with barbed wire, and there's a final perimeter wall. It's the final boss that is 27 feet high with 9 feet of electrical fencing on top of it.
15,000 volts?
I don't know how many volts.
Yeah, 15,000 volts. That is a kill fence.
A kill fence. So you look at that fence funny and zap.
Yeah, exactly. You just that's a nasty fence. We have 2 here in the United States, 2 prisons with kill fences. One in California and one in California and one in Texas. I've seen the one in Texas where they test it. They throw a dummy up against it. The thing goes shooting backwards. It's hilarious to watch the testing of it. But man, you can hear it like buzzing when it's ready to go. It's the kill fence at the penitentiary down there in Beaumont. It's you touch it once and it just a little bit of shaking and it starts to get going, and then the next time you touch it again, within a certain amount of time, it's gonna zap you and kill you. And I have a strong feeling this one does not give you that little brief period to kind of, I imagine those 15 volts are flowing through it. 15,000 volts are flowing through it all the time. And you touch it, you're dead.
And that's surrounding the whole perimeter of the facility. So you're not getting out. In the facility itself, it never gets dark. There's artificial light run in the cells and in the courtyards day in and day out. So your body always thinks it's daytime. There's no silverware allowed because guess what? Silverware can be weapons.
So you get to eat like a monkey, right? Eat with your hands and your feet.
Great.
Or someone else's feet.
There's no mattresses. There's no pillows. Inmates sleep on bunk beds made of steel. Inmates only get their uniforms. They all wear the same uniform. It's just a white T-shirt, white pants, and white Crocs. At least
I wonder how often those get cleaned.
I don't.
The clothes. How often do they do laundry? It's just. Why do I get the sense that they get one uniform and that's it? Period.
They have to do laundry, otherwise that place would be so smelly.
They don't care.
If you're working there, wouldn't you care?
I would, but I don't think El Presidente cares.
It doesn't. It's not his problem. It's the administration's problem. But when you get your officers complaining that this place sucks, it's too smelly. I'm out of there. I'm not working at a place too smelly. Are you?
Right? No, hell no. Gotta have options.
In addition to the uniforms, they also get a sheet and a towel. That is it. So if you want to sleep on something fluffy, use your sheet, use your towel. The armory of the place, it's fully stocked. They are happy to show it off in YouTube videos online. They've got anti-riot equipment. They've got T-65 assault rifles. And the prison uses this technology that cuts off any telephone signal from within 2 kilometers of the facility. So even if an inmate were to smuggle in a cell phone, it's dead. It's useless. They can't use it. One interesting thing they do outside of the facility, they've got this like gravel flooring. So outside the facility, they have gravel all over the ground to make footsteps more audible. So you can't even sneak up on other people. The facility does have dining rooms. It has exercise rooms, ping pong tables, but those are only for the COs. Inmates get none of it.
Yeah, when you start reading that list off, I'm like, they're only out for a half hour. Come on, they're not doing that.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the regiment. It's really strange. People stay silent in there. It's just like a tomb, and they shave the prisoners' heads every 5 days. There's
I can
no
go for that.
Calls. yeah, you like that stuff.
I like that. That's a good idea. Shave every 5 days on your bald head. I love that.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of Bronsons. This is what it looks like. You'd get lost in the shuffle.
You two with your gorgeous heads of hair that petrifies you, but me, I fit right in there.
There's no phone calls, there's no visitation, there's no mail, and the only contact inmates get is with other inmates, administrators, and health practitioners delivering prescriptions. And in the cells themselves, I said it's 2 gangs. It's this MS-13 and Barrio 18. They're mixed in the cells where they have generally coexisted peacefully so far, according to the authorities and the journalists who have been allowed to visit. Though journalists are actually not allowed to ask questions of the inmates. Is anyone surprised?
No. Well, and I bet if they do ask a question, they're not allowed to report it, or else.
Or else, yes.
Yeah.
And I mentioned earlier that there's this regiment where all the guards are hooded, and the facility is run by riot police and soldiers both, and they stay hooded at all times to keep their identities guarded, and then that's for their safety and the safety of their families, because many of them live in these neighborhoods with gang members in them, so they don't want to be recognized. And especially with all these YouTubers going into the facility, one of them shows up on camera, you're essentially doxing yourself, so it's for their own safety.
No, just I don't know. The imagery, the pictures of this place and knowing what they're doing it's really, really disturbing.
Yeah, I completely agree. Inmates stay locked up there all day, except for a 30-minute period where they get walked through the main hall of the facility hunched over while wearing handcuffs and leg irons. They also get to do group calisthenics a few times a week in a hallway outside of the unit. They're uncuffed. They're surrounded by all these officers, and they exercise without weights. They are also allowed to join a church service in the main hallway of the prison where they're sitting on the floor and just singing religious hymns together. These are the only programs they get. So we know that rehabilitation is not at all a focus on the inmate population here.
Yeah. And it's, based on what you're saying and what, the videos, the images, the pics that I've seen, and the lack of their of time they get outside their cell, it's very clear that this is simply warehousing people. I mean, that's what they're doing. What they have perfected warehousing people.
Completely agree. I don't know if there's anything perfect about it, but it is. No. They've brought it to the largest scale that we've seen in one facility.
Yeah, definitely. They're just sticking them in there, keeping them in there, keeping an eye on them, and that is it. There's nothing productive coming out of it. They're not trying to rehabilitate at all. There's no intent of any way to improve these people and their lives, and or thoughts about them returning to society.
Not at all. They are being treated as human refuse. They are thrown away, and society does not have to look at them anymore. Is how it's being done.
Right.
Now, if you're trying to make meals for 14,500 people, what do you think they're eating?
Dog food, rice.
So, I know this one. I know this
rice
one.
And beans.
Literally just beans and tortillas.
Beans, rice, tortillas, and sometimes crema for breakfast and dinner. And lunchtime is sometimes pasta or rice with slightly different preparations. There's no meat. There's no special diets here or anything, it seems. It is just, here you go. There is no distinction of rank for inmates in terms of there's no like inmate workers or anybody who's getting it better than others. Everybody eats the same. People who prepare the food are inmates who are brought in from other prisons as a work detail, and they get supervised in the process.
I wonder. I just wonder what do you do with that? The inmates from the other prisons, are they meritorious housed inmates? Do they stay there? Because you said they get bussed in. So do they stay there? Are they allowed more freedoms? Are they? I'm pretty certain that they're probably the ones cleaning the institution. Where do I just wonder where they stay and what their days are like.
I was not able to find anything on that. Yeah. I'm interested in that too, because it seems like these are the trustees, the inmates that work their way up to get a job like this from another institution. But other than they come in to prepare the food, that's all the information that exists online about these guys.
It's interesting.
So entertainment in the cells. What do you think they get for entertainment?
Silent games.
Even better. They get 2 Bibles, Eric, for 8,200 inmates.
Is one of them the Donald Trump Bible for America?
the Donald Trump Lee Greenwood Bible, I believe.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I forgot Lee Greenwood saying for the commercial. And remember, you can pick up yours once they're delivered from China.
I don't know about you two, but I love hearing God Bless the USA. Like, it's so corny and dumb, and I hate the song. It's so silly. But when I hear it, I'm like, yeah, this song.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awful.
Brit?
I hate it.
but I don't want to like the song. I know it's corny and dumb.
It's awful. It is just awful.
So inmates, they only get 2 occasions where they even leave their cells. The first occasion would be if they have a legal hearing or an attorney meeting conducted over the video conference in a nearby room. Well, I guess they also get to leave their cells for their calisthenics and occasional walk while hunched over. But they also get punished. If they act out, they get placement in a 6x10 windowless isolation cell that has a 3-inch hole in the ceiling for natural light. And there is a cement slab for sleeping, a tub of water with access to drainage, and the bathroom and the toilet. The number of hours you spend in there is defined by how serious your infraction is, and they get fed in the cells through a cuff port, like you would in any max cell. It's a port on the front of the cell that is keyed It swings open. You can slide a tray in there, close it, lock it.
I don't know. I might want the isolation cell.
It sounds more peaceful than being housed with
hell yeah
to 100 other dudes.
No, and where you where you can't do a damn thing. Yeah, why not spend it by yourself? Especially if they're not watching you that closely once you're in there.
No, this is where you make your escape and you tunnel out through the concrete.
No, that's where I sit there very peacefully.
you find yourself. You find Zen and the self-realization in the process.
Exactly. And you can make noise in there, probably.
Oh, that's true. You can make more noise than you can in the bigger cell. It would be so annoying if there's people being loud in those cells. So everyone's quiet.
Although, have you ever been on an isolation unit where it's quiet?
No, I haven't.
When we take our student tours, that's always fun. When the staff says, "Oh, well, yeah, we're going to go over to solitary confinement." Hey, you're so damn loud.
My class and we are touring the facility this Friday, and so I'm looking forward to them getting to experience.
I cannot wait to hear your reaction to the women's prison. It is just, I just can't wait. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it.
I've been going back and forth with the director of programs through the university, and it looks like I might be teaching research methods to the female inmates in spring. So we'll see. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Now, back to the prison, as we need to be there. The prison director is a man who does not want his name revealed, but he's been quoted as saying, "It's impossible to escape. These psychopaths are going to spend the rest of their entire lives behind bars here."
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And the Justice and Public Security Minister has publicly stated that the men incarcerated will never walk out of CECOT. Despite the inhumanity.
Didn't call them psychopaths.
The Justice and Public Security Minister did not. He did not call them psychopaths.
Interesting.
Just the prison director.
Just the prison director. Okay, good. That's fine.
Despite the inhumanity that we're seeing there, the opinion polls that are being taken in El Salvador, they suggest that more than 92% of the public approves of Bukele, and over 90% approve of the policies that they're using for incarceration. I can say 100% of the podcast does not agree with it.
Speak for yourself. We got 1/3 over here.
What is it? We're throwing out these numbers. 60% of the time it works all the time. Wow. That's a lot of support for this prison. I mean, I guess the United States isn't the only place where people are just unforgiving and want to see people punished. I don't know.
Part of the problem too is there's this politics of fear around it. When you institute policies like this, people are going to stay quiet for fear of being denounced or even potentially arrested if they're voicing opposition against this scary government that arrests its people and can hold you for up to 2 years without charging you.
Yeah.
The government at this time has released about 10% of the prison population after determining their arrests were arbitrary, but the releases have actually slowed down in the past year or so. The problem that we're seeing there is it's this idea of guilty unless proven innocent, and that's super dangerous. Some of the other abuses we're seeing in the facility, we have a lack of basic hygiene materials. We have also seen some evidence that people incarcerated have sustained some really severe injuries that have led to prison deaths. And the reporting so far has uncovered torture, beating, strangulation, and a lack of medical attention.
Well, here's what I'm wondering. When we talk about these assaults and these injuries that the inmates are sustaining, do we have any clue if it's inmate to inmate, staff to inmate? What's happening? Do we know? I'm sure they're going to report that it's inmate to inmate, but
yeah, what I read about it wasn't entirely clear, but it seemed speculative that it was staff on inmate. But you're right. We have no way of directly showing either way. Still, if you're incarcerated, you should not be subject to assaults. You should not be subject to personal harm. You're already being incarcerated for your crimes.
Right.
So, like, if we boil it down to the nitty gritty, what they're doing here, they're trading freedom and democracy for this immediate gratification of security. They're locking people in cages, and you are going to reduce some crimes like murder in the short term, which is, sure, I'm anti-murder. Great. But also you're crossing over into human rights violations and this like creep of authoritarianism that is like a very fast creep of authoritarianism.
Yeah.
And for the people incarcerated without phone calls, mail, without visitation, you're in this black box. Your family doesn't know if you're dead. They don't know if you're alive. And when we make these arbitrary arrests with this indefinite detention, it can really cut into people's newly aligned feelings of safety. It really isn't the way. And they're just building themselves into mass incarceration without safety valves to offer themselves a way out. The U.S. has been dealing with mass incarceration for years. Right. And El Salvador is a much smaller country, but it's like their incarceration rate has skyrocketed in a very short time.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. When, it'd be different if this was a measured approach and things were building up slowly. But, just as you talked about the prison being built on reactionary, for a reactionary reason, this is the same, the mass arrests and mass incarceration are reactionary as well. And that's when that happens, they're not thinking through things. They're not thinking about the unintended consequences of keeping these people locked up like this. What is it doing to the communities, to the families?
Yeah, it's like a motion-based policy versus actually like reasoned, researched policy. And this is policy where they're trying to address societal fears, but they're doing it in such a way that's creating new, different fears and holding a bunch of people and voiding their rights. Furthermore, there's like zero emphasis on addressing what the social ills are that are even causing gang violence and gang membership in the first place. There's zero rehabilitation imperative in the country. That part sucks. If you're going to create something like this, at least have it addressing, okay, why are we seeing so many young men joining gangs? And what can we do about it? Rather than condemning this and just making a lockdown situation for the rest of their lives.
Right. Right. And that's exactly what's going on there. Again, there's no expectation of treatment or education or improvement of these individuals at all.
Not a bit. And it's a short-term solution that they're not thinking ahead to the future. If they are planning to imprison these men for the rest of their lives, they should also be thinking ahead to healthcare costs, which start to mount up as people get older. And the people in the system, they're going to end up with this aging population that needs state medical care, with costs getting higher and higher in the facility over time. And it seems like there's been no even consideration of something like this happening. Now, Bukele sees that he's getting wide support for it. So he's also announced a future prison called the Corruption Confinement Center. It's similar to the CECOT, but it's for white collar criminals. That's an interesting development. And like in America, when a right-wing politician does something like they set up anti-trans laws or they announce that they want law and order and getting tough on crime, and then we see that taking off in other states and governors of other states, like with DeSantis in the last year or two, we saw people trying to outdo him. Oh, we see DeSantis doing this, so we're going to try and implement similar laws because we see this as a trend. So we see that happening with conservative leadership in other Latin American countries. And we have politicians in Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, Ecuador, and Peru who have indicated support for Bukele's national security policies. And some of them have said that they want to implement similar prisons in their own countries. And so far, the president of Ecuador has built a prison he says is identical to CECOT and has similar plans for it.
My whole thing, there's two things. So first off, that Corruption Confinement Center, it just sounds like that is future political opponents incarceration center. That's what I see happening there, is that if you oppose the government in El Salvador, or if you are running for an election and you're not in step with the current administration, you're going to get locked up in the corruption confinement center. The other thing is that I've seen Spanish newspapers who have dubbed this the Alcatraz of Central America, where I think it is so far past so far past Alcatraz. Alcatraz is nothing compared to this place. Alcatraz was a joke. This is so much more serious and harsh. And, Alcatraz, the inmates had the opportunity to get out of their cells and do some productive work over at Prison Industries. And there was an opportunity to improve themselves and take classes. The idea of Alcatraz, you couldn't escape it. That's the only thing that's similar to this place. It's a completely different world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Alcatraz is its own monster and has its own problems in so many ways, but it doesn't come with the same like penal philosophy to it that is right. So you're never getting out, you're going to die here.
Right.
We're incarcerating you without charges for up to 2 years. It's also like way too much power for one person to have. Bukele, right. He's got nowhere to go from here. He's essentially making it a dictatorship, and that's scary for what it is too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, in this place, when you're crammed into those cells with all those people, versus again Alcatraz or other penitentiaries at the United States runs, where they have one person to a cell or two people to a cell. That's very different than being forced into these larger cells with all kinds of people. And again, the whole thing's run by the president. That's pretty scary. With Bukele, that's just way too much power.
Yeah, completely agree. And there's no obstacles in his way. And it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years with this facility. I don't anticipate it being anything good. That about does it for this segment.
I love it.
Move on to our beloved, our only movie minute.
Movie minute.
Let's get into it.
Movie minute.
Love it.
Movie minute.
60 seconds with producer Brit to talk about movies.
Movie minute.
So last week I was sentenced to 2012's Get the Gringo. So Get the Gringo from 2012 is a prison film directed by Adrian Grunberg, who also did Rambo Last Blood and was assistant director on Apocalypto. The film is also starring and co-written by none other than Mr. Handsome Hitler himself, Mel Gibson. The movie starts with a high-speed chase after a heist wherein Mel Gibson's character is captured and his partner killed. He's taken to a Mexican prison that is more like an open-air market than a prison, and there's just like kids being raised there, there's families there, like some people are free to like come and go, and some people are just prisoners. In the prison, Mel Gibson, also known as the Gringo, meets a cast of characters and takes a liking to a kid who's just called the Kid. The kid is said to have his kidney be stolen by an infamous gangster, so the Gringo steps in to help him out. Meanwhile, the thugs the Gringo ripped off find him and go after him. Overall, this was a pretty decent movie. Gibson is a stern but occasionally human-seeming psychopath with a code of honor all his own, and he also portrays one in the movie. Also, a pretty great performance from newcomer Kevin Ballmore, who plays the Kid. The writing was decent, the direction and cinematography were competent, and the movie didn't lose my attention for its 90-some minute runtime. In my favorite piece of trivia about the movie, it opened in March 2012 in where else but Mel Gibson's very favorite country, Israel.
Oh, wow.
3 out of 5 soups.
Hey, that's not bad.
Not shabby at all.
Yeah, it's worth a watch.
That's a decent rating from you. I
think we should punish Brit more, though.
Yes,
don't you think he needs it?
I took it easy on him.
Yeah. That was an easy film to watch. That was
last week. He might have been like, "Oh, be gentle."
Yeah, at least it was a fine 90-some minute film.
Right.
It's and probably not something I'm gonna watch again. Maybe not something I'd recommend unless it was to just a guy type guy. Like some guy who likes shooting guns on the weekend. I'd be like, hey, have you seen Get the Gringo, Mel Gibson? Yeah. Actually, you know what? I know a guy named Floyd at work. I'm going to recommend this film to him. I think he'd like it.
I recommend to anyone you know named Floyd.
Floyd.
Floyd wears gun hats, so
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Floyd would like this one. So what's my sentence?
You are sentenced to watch 2007's Prison of the Psychotic Damned.
Oh, that is wonderful sentence.
From 2007, you said?
That is correct.
Okay.
2007, directed by D.W. Can.
Mm-hmm. Put it on the list. Great. Super.
Yeah, you needed some more punishment. This is El Salvador,
Yeah, it certainly is. Well,
that one is just. If I'm thinking about it, it's the one with the ghost hunters. Is that the right one?
That is the correct one. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's so bad.
Oh, you've seen it.
It
okay.
is. Oh, it's awful. You're gonna love it, Brit.
All right. I look forward to it. Question mark.
Yeah.
I love that Eric has seen all these movies that most people, including myself, have almost never heard of.
Yeah. No. So this one was one that one of my students review for their movie assignment.
Oh, wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I saw that and I was just like, what the hell is this? And I started watching it. Oh, this is dreadful. I'm looking for a 1.2 soups.
All right. Oh, wow. I'm gonna get.
Well,
1.5 is too much.
Turn around and go, 4.7 soups.
As he has every right to do.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to hear dreadful in this review, though. It better be dreadful.
All right.
Yeah.
Looking forward to dreadful, I guess. But it's not. It's not dreadful.
What's that?
Roger Williams University, our sponsor.
They definitely are not. No. Man, do they?
They have a lot of good programs.
They have some great programs. Criminal justice, obviously. It's fantastic. Legal studies, forensic science. Got master's degrees in criminal justice, leadership, public administration. It's it's a hell of a school over there at the School of Justice Studies. And soon we're going to have a few other degrees coming over, like sociology, anthropology, political science. It's the great things happening over there on the banks of that Narragansett. It's great.
We will be missing our brothers in the cybersecurity program, but they're off to other pastures. They got other stuff going on. We welcome you, political science and and social.
Yeah, bring over the social sciences. You know I'm going to be happy. Sociology back over with us where it belongs.
Where it belongs.
It's going to be great. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we get some more like-minded people in the department. It'll be a good mix.
Yeah, exactly.
I also would like to encourage our listeners, please please rate, please subscribe if you enjoyed the podcast. And thank you for listening. Until next time, it's Lights Out.
Lights out!
Lights out.